Welcome, glad you could join us. We'll be starting in just a moment here. We have a last couple people settling in. But now that Todd Johnson has arrived, we can get started. All right. All right, thank you so very, very much. As we're settling in, this is basically what we had imagined. Tables with our scholars. Some of our scholars have doubled up. Others have one table to themselves because they have an entourage, which is fabulous. Because when we started just a short time ago, there was no entourage. It was just us. It was just us. In fact, I have a couple pictures, one that I'm sure everyone will just really appreciate. That's where we began, at the end of August last year. And what's so fun is if you take the time to really put together a high-powered group of young adults, you think they're going to come in and just tear it up. Turns out they were actually kind of intimidated by each other because they're all very, very experienced in getting things done right, but they're thinking, oh, I was scared of you. Oh, yeah, but I was scared of you. No, I was scared of you. I was intimidated by you. But then things change, and they start to get to know each other, and they've been through a semester together. So that's December. So things have changed. They're growing up, they're growing in, they're growing together, and this is just beginning of March when we actually ran a Spark class, which is a 2-hour high-interest class for a science program. We had a class, we'll talk more about that in just a minute, but now not only could they handle each other, could they lead each other and follow and serve each other, they could also do this with 8 middle school boys. If you haven't tried that before, it's not for the weak of stomach or faint of heart. But they did a fabulous job. And we had 8 to begin with, and we had 8 at the end, so it all ended well. Basically, what Paul Scholars really is a work education program. That part we know, and formally, it's a 4-year community that blends a full tuition scholarship, work-ready experience, and team learning fueled by the Apostle Paul's example of vocation and servant leadership. Now, when you talk about vocation and servant leadership, those are things we've heard of before. But when you combine that with work, with learning, with service, you get some kind of interesting things. You get 10 young adults. 10 young adults. And if you look at the numbers, we had 8 states from across the fruited plain. We had 8 women. Oh, it didn't, sorry. It didn't give me everything. Maybe I went too fast. Okay. So 8 states, 8 women, 2 men, 10 majors, 10 plus families involved here as well. But the goal was to try to get one community. And so our focus was then having many students serving one new community, one that they don't have anyone else to grab onto. If you go to any sport, if you go to any music program, even go to theater, there are communities that already exist. We had to create this together. But then the trick is to have each one serving the many, and that's where our work placement came in. They were learning as one individual, as part of my community, to serve many other people. And what's so interesting about this is that we take quite a variety of people. Look at the mix that we have here. It's a huge, huge range of interest and talents. We aren't all science people or education people. We're not all theater or art people. We're not all of any one area. We are a wonderful mix. And the beautiful thing about this, with all those strong personalities, oftentimes strong opinions, what we have is an interesting cross-section of people that really help to coach each other. So we have our first mesh here. We have Nathaniel with Dr. Beck, Kurt Beck. We have Brianna here on the right with Lee and with Scott in advancement. And we have our first ever student working in the Trinity Academy with Gabe Haley. And then our very own, the fun part about this one is we had the meeting between Heidi and Joshua and IT. They said, well, let's begin by showing you something. So immediately began looking at the projector and doing some fiddling with that and get going. And then we have, of course, Randy Bach and Kaylee in the training room. And I went to meet with him the other day, and we had to postpone that meeting because someone came in with a broken thumb, or at least a strained ligament. And she was convinced the fingernails had nothing to do with it as a basketball player. He wasn't convinced. But it's a free-flowing place. You never know what's going to happen. Of course, you have Hannah in the music area with Robert Cody, and we have Lorinda Sankey and her team there with Malia in church work, and our very own Isaac in the theater department. And then, this is fun. This is like the nerve center of campus here. So we have Rachel with Chris Grooms, right? And we just met the other day. And then Dana in security. Again, first ever student working in this area. They had to create a position just for this to work. And they're going, I'm not so sure about this. Let's give it a try. And I have something I didn't get the chart in here, but they showed me a chart the other day, that this massive chart of all the different org chart for the program. And way down here in the little corner was Rachel. That's where we thought her program was going to be. But there's about 11 dots on there, and by now she touches all 11 dots on that org chart. And then finally we have Anna in SLO in the student life office with her whole team. Again, a unique position. None of these positions had a long-term internship quite like this. And what we end up with is a place to practice our skills. We're practicing with relationships, we're practicing with mission and purpose, and you look at that list and you think, that's easy to understand. What the students came to understand by the end of first semester is, but doing it consistently, every day, at work, that's a real job. That's not so easy. They call them soft skills, but if they're so soft, why are they so hard to do? And then we added a couple competencies, a combination of skills, like professionalism and teamwork, so that they're practicing these things. Their job is a work laboratory, like bio or chem lab. And so there's a lot of learning and interacting and engaging that happens in these classes. A lot of thinking out loud, whether it's on paper, on screen, or in this case we had a guest speaker. This is Dr. Gene Veith. He was our talking head on the laptop, and we had him with the OWL presentation piece there. And this is the author of the book that we're using, God at Work. We go through one chapter a week. And he chose, I said, he's been coaching me for about a year now. He says, would you pick a chapter to be our guest speaker? So he chose ethics. And so this was our conversation. We also had our local celebrities. We have the mayor of town with us here as Joshua Eichmeyer, and we also had Jonathan Jank, who's head of the Chamber of Commerce. When we did our calling as a citizen, they were our guest speakers. And then we also had our calling to church. So we brought in for roundtable, round-robin discussions. We had Dr. Coe, we had Dr. Molds, and we also had Pastor Matthias. So we were having them really work out in detail, what does this like? We were rotating about every 10, 15 minutes so that they could each get a personal interaction with each of these gentlemen who bring something different to the table. So instead of just talking about the concepts, we were learning to own it and embrace it. And it was just a powerful experience, lots of engaging, and there's no small amount of opinions, but it's also very respectful decisions. We also took on a larger project. This was that Spark class where we had 3 main challenges that the students, that our class put together for these middle school boys. And it was a powerful experience. They were learning leadership. They were learning trust for each other. It was teamwork. But it wasn't just the middle schools that were learning this. It was our scholars were practicing their teamwork and their professionalism, and their practice in their communication and their service learning. What's coming soon for us next year is between now and next fall, we're going to be finalizing our off-campus work placements. We'll be having our fall welcome, like the 20th and 21st, but for this group, it'll most likely be the 20th, just the one day, and the 21st they'll get off to work. You'll be in the same work placement, and you'll begin to mentor cohort 2. And the beautiful thing about that is they will have someone to turn to, and you will have someone to mentor. And then coming in spring, we'll once again be having the on-campus work. But during spring, a year from now, about this time, you'll most likely already be matched with your work mentor for year 3 and 4. And so that process will be happening during the spring semester. And then we'll be having another banquet like this. Will be the second annual banquet. And we'll also be having our spring seminar. So the fall welcome is a way we get things started. It's our first week out of 17 that we have to work for hours. And the spring seminar is also our 17th week. So this is what's coming soon. Next year we'll have, with hindsight, much more definitive calendars that we can work with, what I know my students will very much appreciate. But there's one more thing. One more thing. In fact, I know it's time to eat, but there's one more thing that you have to have. But I need the scholars to help hand these out. So if I could have several scholars come up, I have some envelopes with names on them that you have to hand out. All right. Now, many of you have these. What I'd like you to do is, there are some of you that have like a 1 and a 2. So, Dr. Bold, you have yours?
I have them, yes.
Okay, so the one that has a 1 is the main one that says for you. I think, Derek, you have more than one. So the one that says for you, that's the one we're going to open. I'd like you to open these up, and this is something that is made right here in Seward. But this is our... So if you have an envelope, open them up. And yes, Todd, you get 2 of them. You can open them both. They're both for you. But this is our medallion for Paul Scholars for this year. So our scholars receive this with their name on it and the year. Our mentors receive one. And donors will also be receiving one. We also have some people in the room who are builders. And the builders are the staff and faculty members who've helped to make this possible. We'll be hearing a little bit more about that after we eat. But right now, I just want to enjoy the meal. And let's see, I didn't think about someone to pray. I'm going to pray in Swedish. So just follow along. Pray along with if you can. I Jesu namn till båd vi går, välsigna Gud din mat vi får, Gud till ära. Oss till dagen så får vi mat i Jesu namn. Amen. The prayer is, in Jesus' name to the tables we go. Our Heavenly Father, we thank you for this food. To God be the glory, to us be the gain. We receive this food in Jesus' name. Amen. Enjoy your dinner. All right, I would like to begin the program. And we're going to, well, first of all, just thank you for all being here. This is an amazing place to be. A year ago, it was hard to imagine us all sitting here like this. I still had not met any of you, except Malia. I think I had met Malia, but she had come to pick up her sister for like spring break. So I think I had met Malia, but no one else in person. And I said, well, if the rest are like Malia, this is going to be a good year. And it turns out very much so. And so what I'd like to do is spend a moment and invite Dr. Bull come up, and he'll be talking about their inspiration and vision, because this all started about 3 years ago, right? Roughly, about 3 years ago. It started with an idea, inspired by someone else, another situation that inspired this situation. And then we'll follow that with the preparation for launch, because every story has a beginning. And so Dr. Bull is going to give us the beginning, Todd Johnson is going to give us the preparation, and then our students will give us the reality. And I've already checked with Anna, and she's ready to be our lead batter to take this and run off here. So we'll have 5 of our scholars talk. They all wanted this to be brief because they wanted their focus to be their table talk, which I think was great. So they'll all talk for a couple minutes. And then we'll have mentor comments, kind of open mic. We just let that be known to the mentors. And if they wish, they can just say a few words. They don't have to be very well thought out. It's just off the cuff, right from the heart, just a few sentences. And I have a few that came by email of people that couldn't be here, but they asked me to speak on their behalf. And then we'll have our other 5 scholars, and we'll have our closing. So, Dr. Bull, if you'd be so kind.
It's good to be here with all of you this evening. Thank you. I'm delighted to tell a little bit of a history here. Some of you in the room have heard a portion of this story. Others have heard the other portion of the story. Maybe some of you heard both of them, but never in a combined version. So I'll start with the first one, our origin story for the university. 1894 we started. It was a group of people in Nebraska who felt the need for raising up a next generation of what they initially decided was going to be teachers. For some of you who don't know, in the Lutheran Church, we are the second largest parochial school system in the United States, in the Lutheran school system. And part of the reason for that is when the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, the original founders of that church body, came from Saxony to the United States, they actually planted schools before they planted churches. The very first initiative was in Perry County, Missouri, and they started a school with the idea that they'd invite families into the school, and then from there they would launch a church around those families. And they started schools all over the country. It was quite aggressive, and people wanted to start growing schools moving further west. And they decided we needed to raise teachers up to fill those schools. And they started the Evangelical Lutheran Teachers Seminary, which is our original name here at Concordia. But it was a terrible time to start a school. It was a massive drought throughout the plains. Some communities were turning into near ghost towns. Some people were starving. The Lutheran Church formed a support group that would fill their cars with grain and drive to communities just to provide enough grain for families to make it through one more week. It was a difficult time, and can you imagine in the middle of that kind of a drought, that kind of difficulty where farmers were losing everything, all that they'd sort of poured into years and years and all of their efforts. Some of them have traveled from further east and moved this way. And in the middle of that, even as they're going through so much difficulty and adversity in their own homes, in their own families, on their own farms, they gathered and they said, we need to make this happen. And they commended their effort to the Lord, and they started working hard. And a bunch of people came together and they made it happen, and we started. It started in Founders Hall, which we're not too far from. It's just over here. Yes, it's still standing, and I pray that it never falls on my watch. God willing, maybe we'll do something about that with the renovation in the future. Founders Hall, President Weller, Reverend Weller, and his wife, and 12 students. So not much larger than the Paul Scholars community. 12 students gathered. They lived together, they worshiped together, they studied together, they ate together, and they worked together. It wasn't officially called a work college at that time, but if you go over into Weller Hall, you'll see a little wall of our history, and you'll notice that the cost of tuition was slightly lower than it is today. Does anyone in the room know what the dollar amount was? Oh, I had forgotten. That's why I was asking. I thought someone would save me. It was less than $20, I believe. What's that? $12. I think $12 sounded familiar. So it was about $12. So $12 more than what the Paul Scholars are having to pay for. And so the $12, although they would work and they would contribute to what was necessary to try to help with room and board. They were probably doing some of the gardening. They were preparing meals. They were cleaning up after the meals together. And it worked fine. And the community began to grow. And it grew from those 12 to 20, 30, 40, 50, 100, 200. Once we got into the early 20th century, it started expanding. At that time, in 1894, technically you would call it a high school, although it wasn't. It was sort of inspired by a different model that was popular in Germany called the Gymnasium. But what was necessary to become a teacher in the 1800s was a high school diploma. That was sort of the entry-level credential to become a teacher. And by the 20s, a certificate was required, and then eventually an associate's degree and a bachelor's degree. So it kind of grew into what was needed in order to accomplish its purposes. In the 1920s, there was a dedication of a building called Becker Hall that is no longer with us, and President Weller gave a speech, and it was recorded in the local newspaper. And in that newspaper, he stated a vision for why this school exists. And it involved several things. One, yes, it exists to raise up church workers. That was a very clear purpose. Second, it exists to be a place that honors the legacy of faith formation that started in the homes and at the baptismal font. A place where parents could send their kids to get a higher education that would be world class, that would be excellent, and it would be Christ-centered. So they could send their kids to a place where they know that they would find mentors who would nurture them in the faith that had been introduced to them in their homes and their churches. And that was a vision. The third was to have this as a community where we point one another to the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world. And what's interesting about this is it wasn't the vision that the professors and the staff would do that only to the students, but the vision was to create a community where the students are part of making the mission happen on a daily basis, where the students are not just there to receive, but they're there to give as well, to be part of growing this into something that maybe no one even imagined at the time. And there's a fourth piece that wasn't actually in the article, but I'll talk about it because I found it in the earliest copy of our Articles of Incorporation. We don't actually have the original 1894 articles. I don't know if we even had them. Maybe they weren't required in the 1890s. I don't know. But by the early 1920s, they certainly were. And I found a copy of our earliest Articles of Incorporation, and it stated everything that I just told you. But it also said that its vision was to be for the families of our Lutheran churches and their neighbors who share our common convictions, people who want this kind of Christ-centered education for their children. And that led up to today. If you go through the history of Concordia, we have launched a number of initiatives, and some of them have been very wildly successful, and others have struggled. Sometimes it took us a few months to get something off the ground, sometimes a few years, and sometimes it never quite made it. There were successes and there were challenges, and that's how it works this side of heaven. The question isn't, should we try this because we know we'll be successful? The question is, should we try it because it's needed, and because it's a good, noble cause that's God-pleasing and can be a blessing to many? So let's bring that up to the future and where we are with the Paul Scholars. I've been here 4 years. I'm a senior. I'm considering sticking around for a fifth year. And when I first arrived, I had been working previously at another college in Vermont. And for over 20 years, I've been a scholar of Christian education, and one of my other areas of research is educational innovation and different models of education. I've done thousands of interviews of people in school systems throughout the United States and Europe and other parts of the world. I've visited hundreds of different schools. And I was a president of a small experimental college in Vermont for a time that was actually a work college back in the 1930s. And that school was part of an initial organization, a group called the League of Experimental Colleges. And most of the experimental colleges that exist in the United States today, or that have ever existed, can stem from that original League of Experimental Colleges, a group of people that gathered together and shared their creative ideas on how to advance higher education in a way that could be a blessing to others. And the work college movement actually emerged from the 1930s. So there are about 10 colleges in the university, or in the country, that are documented by the U.S. Department of Education as work colleges. They actually get funded by the U.S. Department of Education in part to do that. They receive thousands of dollars per student, and so I was intrigued, and I always wondered if we could take some of the lessons from those work colleges, and we could combine it with our Christ-centered mission here. And we could create not a full university that's a work college, but we could create a distinct, powerful, compelling community that could be a real blessing to those who are part of it and those who benefit from the students in that community. So when I first arrived, I I met a person named Lloyd Probasco. Lloyd is a great supporter of the university in many, many different ways and a great champion for us. He's served in the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod in a variety of ways. And I met him actually in this very room about somewhere in that corner. I was sitting at a table. And I remember talking to him, and I shared with him about my intrigue with work colleges. And he said, well, I have a real interest in work colleges as well. And he said, in fact, College of the Ozarks down in Missouri, I've even met their president, and I'm really intrigued. And if you'd like, I can arrange a trip where the two of us can travel down to the College of the Ozarks. And the president is retiring in a month or two. I bet he'd even let us come in and maybe give us 30 minutes or an hour of his day. So we drove down there, and we spent the night. And the next day we had breakfast with him. And the plan was just to spend an hour with him over breakfast, and then we'd head back home. Well, about 4 p.m., we had spent the whole day wandering every single building, talking to this amazing man who shared with us he was a key part of launching College of the Ozarks. They're a little bit ahead of us. They have a $500 million endowment that helps underwrite them, and a working farm and a stained glass art studio and a lodge and a restaurant that's all student run and led and other things like that. So they took a little different model. In fact, every building on the campus is built by students. They have a construction company that they run and they operate as well. It's highly competitive. They only allow families in who have who are below a certain income bracket or level. They have a very specific mission and target audience that they want to serve. And as I sat down with them, I said, "You've done some really amazing things here." And they're a Christian university, unashamedly Christian. They're pretty hardcore kind of God, guns, and country type of school. So where we have Christian art on our campus, they have fighter jets. But it's a fascinating place. But as I sat down with him and I talked, I said, so say you were to come to Concordia with me and just spend a little bit of time, what would it look like if you were going to launch something like this or take a sliver of the best ideas? And he shared a few thoughts and a few ideas with me, and I took voracious notes, and those few thoughts turned into about 10 or 15 pages of notes. And I came back, and Lloyd and I talked a great deal more. So we got back. It was about 2 months later that I received an envelope. It was an envelope about this thick. And it wasn't from Lloyd Probasco. It wasn't from the president of the College of the Ozarks. It was from one of my college mentors, a guy I had not talked to for about 10 years. His name was Larry Sohn, and Dr. Larry Sohn. And he was the chair of the education department at Concordia University, Wisconsin, when I was there. And Dr. Sohn and Lloyd Probasco had both served on the Board of Regents for the only historically black Lutheran college in American history in Selma, Alabama. Unfortunately, Concordia Selma closed a number of years ago, and Lloyd and Larry Sohn were both part of that painful job of being on the board when a school closed. The year before that school was closing, they came up with an idea. What if we could turn Concordia Selma into a work college, and maybe we could save it? And so they tried, but they only had 12 months, and the school was already so far in debt, and it had gone so far that it was too late to really take the idea and to bring it into reality and to make it happen. So that envelope that I received was a packet of all the research that they had done in preparation for Concordia Selma. So I have this packet in front of me, one of the many mentors that God put in my life. I have this experience having been at a place that was a historic work college and the League of Experimental Colleges and the network. I just haven't had this trip down to College of the Ozarks. And all of this, as I'm praying about this every morning and every night and praying that God would give wisdom and guidance on where we should go, we were building our new strategic plan for Concordia, Nebraska. And things just seemed to keep coming together like that. God was placing mentors who could guide me and us in thinking about this. And so we started to build our own internal team. Todd Johnson became a key part of that. Morgan Schreiner, who I don't think is here as well. And we talked to a number of other people. I think Scott might have been a part of some of those conversations. Dave Comm in our business office. We invited some other people kind of in and out. Morgan and Todd really took a lead, and we did a lot of dreaming. We met in my office every day, or every week for almost a year, I think. And they would come in, and I'd play sort of the teacher role, and I'd mark up what they did and give them feedback. Well, could we do this instead? Or how about this? And we'd push back on each other and come up with different ideas. And Todd would bring me out of the clouds back into reality, and sometimes I'd stretch them and challenge them in different ways. And by the end, there was a big binder and a vision for what eventually became called the Paul Scholars Program and Initiative. So we had the idea. We had the plans, even knowing that we were going to launch it and we would have all sorts of things wrong and we'd have to fix it and figure it out, which some of you as the inaugural Paul Scholars know and have experienced, and you're part of the pains. If you were moving to Nebraska and you were starting a town from scratch, it's not easy. Well, you're part of starting a town from scratch in the Paul Scholars. So we had everything except absolutely no money to make it happen. So the next step was, is there anyone out there that believes in this vision enough to try to make this happen? A community that would help students completely try to remove as much as possible financial barriers, especially on the tuition side for students. One that would help students grow in the skills that will allow them to be a great blessing in their churches, communities, and their workplaces, and the world, and in their families. One that would really challenge people to step up their game and stretch themselves in a variety of key. I actually have a list of 53 competencies. I don't know if Paul's ever shared those with the students because he don't want to. Oh, he has. I don't know if he wanted to scare you away or whatever. But you shared the 10 broad ones, so there are subcategories that was the original vision, and I think we'll get to those over time. But this idea of really stretching people, helping these students have relationships with one or more key mentors that can guide them and help them develop these skills in intentional ways. So all of that, great vision. Now, all we need is $10 million or so. Actually, $8.5 million, $9 million, I think, is what we were aiming for, right? So we didn't need it all up front, and we're actually not there at the end of the campaign. But we have received well over $2 million in gifts dedicated for Paul Scholars, between seed funding to get it off the ground and some of the original contribution to an endowment that will help forever underwrite the tuition scholarships that are received by Paul Scholars. And that work is underway. That's a regular process. We are regularly meeting with individuals and telling the story of the Paul Scholars, inviting them to be part of it. And in fact, the Paul Scholars that are in this room, you're part of the story that we share, as we are even talking to these others to help provide funding for those who come after you. So it's been an incredible journey to get to this place. I know, I can tell, I've talked to Paul and others, that there is a long way to go. We are still building, it's kind of like you're building a town from scratch, and okay, we have our houses, we got our church up, but oh, wait a second, maybe we need a police station, or we need a firehouse, or we still don't have indoor plumbing yet, or we need to start working on some of these other things. That's part of building something from scratch, is that we discover those things a bit along the way, and some of them are in our plans and some of them are not. But it is a real honor to have you, the Paul Scholars, in here. Thank you for being part of this inaugural group, for the mentors who are in the room, for the parents and the others who have been supporting the young people. It's a great blessing, and I look forward to seeing what God does with it in the years ahead. Thank you. Do you want me to hand it over directly? All right, so as I mentioned before, Todd Johnson was a key person in helping dig in and put the nuts and bolts to the original plans of this, and also a bigger picture vision. And Todd has officially retired, although we're not ever letting him fully retire. We're going to keep him connected to Concordia however we can. For example, I'm going to hand the microphone to him right now and let him tell you a little bit more about the story.
Awesome. Hi, everybody. As you know, I'm Todd Johnson, and it's interesting to see Dr. Bull's vision of how this thing transpired. Here's my vision of how this thing worked. He had the vision, He walks in with the packet in the office. Morgan and I are standing there, and he hands me the packet. He says, I want to get that college work study program going. Here you go. Go do it. And I looked at Morgan as we walked out of the office, and I said, there is no way we're going to be able to pull this one off. That's not exactly how it went, but it was one of those where I'm like, wow, this is not like something you do tomorrow. And so Morgan and I got together, and we got Scott and Daisha and a few other people, and we started working on it. And we said, all right, there are a lot of moving parts. I'm a business person, so I'm more operational. So this was great. I was the guy that was going to figure out, okay, how are we going to operationalize this thing and get it going? One of the classes that I teach here at Concordia is an entrepreneurship class, and we use what's called and I'm going to say it, Dr. Bull, a Harvard Lean Business Model, which the Harvard Lean Business Model, Dr. Bull and I have a little Harvard joke going on, so we talk about Harvard a lot. But we use this Lean Business Model, and what it is that a business model says, get a product or your service and get it in the hands of the people, knowing that it is not going to be perfect, knowing that we're going to continue to work on it and improve it and change it and enhance it over time until we get exactly what we want. And so that's what we did. We took his vision and we said, all right, here's what we need to do. Let's get this thing going and let's get it operational. We had about a little over a year, and they wanted it to be like the College of Ozarks. That was our platform. So we made some phone calls. We also talked to the president of the College of Ozarks, and we said, okay, what kind of jobs are your students doing? And they said, all of our freshmen clean toilets, because they had this huge hotel deal, and they all clean toilets. And I said, well, we've got a lot of toilets on campus. I think we can probably figure out something. How many of you have clean toilets, all of our Paul Scholars? Did you really? Oh, I was hoping nobody. That was not part of the jobs. But we knew that being humble in your work is part of what we're trying to understand. Now, we weren't doing jobs that were going to clean toilets, but we did want to have jobs that they could learn and grow in, and so we had to deal with that, and there's a lot that went into this operational size of it. Number one, we had to figure out the IRS. They're going to work, and in exchange, they're going to get tuition. So Morgan and I we did our research to figure out, okay, how are we going to do this? We have to have community partners. So 2 years from now, when they go out and work, we had to figure out, okay, how is that going to look? What kind of contracts? Is it going to be memorandum of understanding? Just a lot of operational type things that we had to figure out. And it was great because we did. We got to sit in your office and you challenge us and say, well, what about this? We could do this. And we'd go back and we're like, I don't know if we're going to be able to pull that off. And just having a conversation with Scott and say, well, you know what? I think we can pull that off. And I think we can do those things. And so we did. We got it going. And it's not perfect. We know that. And it's going to grow and it's going to get better. But I want to tell you right now, the thing that what most people don't get to see about Paul Scholars is to get to sit with these students in the classroom, which I've been blessed to do a few times, and watch them have communication and intentional discussion about their faith journey and who they are as Christians and the strategies of their academic side and their personal lives and the community and how that intertwines with our faith and our relationship with our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. It is amazing to watch them discuss this. And they're freshmen. I cannot imagine what it's going to be like when they're seniors. The growth that they're having in this process is fabulous. And when these freshmen, when you're seniors and the freshmen come in and they're wide-eyed and like, I don't know what Paul Scholars is. I don't understand college. I don't understand where my dorm is. I'm not sure where to go eat. Guess who's going to be the trainer? You will be. And I'm so excited to see that, to watch you just say, hey, it's okay. You're going to be great. We're going to get through this together. And the leadership opportunities that you're going to have with those freshmen coming in 3 years from now, 4 years from now, is going to be just unbelievable. I'm super excited for that. We made it happen. Is it perfect? No, but it's done. And we got our first class. And the one thing we had to do is we had to find a director that could also handle the details that was going to go into this thing. And so we did a big search and we found Paul, and it's just awesome. We had discussion of, well, it's Paul Scholars. As we hire somebody named Paul, is that going to be confusing? How's that going to work, right? And we brought Paul in, and Paul's just done an amazing job. But I want you guys to know that what we're teaching these kids is not just their academic component. It's not just about the community. It's about their faith and their journey and their growth inside of that. And hopefully when they get out, instead of saying, I'm not sure what I want to do next, they're going to go out and they're going to say, I am going to inspire others, and I am going to bring those that do not know our Lord and plant those seeds and be confident in having those discussions. I'm so excited to watch you guys as you grow. I'll be back here, trust me. That first graduating class, I'm super excited to be back here and watch you guys graduate. Congratulations on getting almost through your first year. Hopefully it's all going great to the end, and thank you very much. Appreciate it.
So that's what we have to work with. This is the kind of foundation that we have. Some of the names that you've been hearing, this is the reason why, not only that we're here, but we're going to keep coming back, and we're going to keep expanding and improving. There's some kind of a high-level podcast I saw an advertisement for around startups. And the title is, Everything We Did Wrong Before We Did It Right. And that's kind of what we're describing here. But what I'd like to do right now is talk about those who got it right. And Anna is going to kick us off here, and she's going to set the tone here, set the pattern for our scholar highlights. Anna, it's all yours.
Hello everyone, my name is Anna Pennycamp and I work in the Student Life office right out here. I've been blessed with two amazing work mentors. Rebecca Fried is here, and then Pastor Matthias is my other work mentor. He could not make it tonight. And then I have some amazing caring coworkers as well. Carrie Janan, Emmy Lewis, Morgan Grindy, and Jean Brooks. And they're just the most phenomenal people. I'm from Indiana, and so none of my family members are really out here. And so they just did a great job of caring for me and making me feel welcome and safe here. So I really enjoy going into work just because I get to see all of them every day. Everyone in this office has shown me what working and leading with humility truly looks like. Every one of these staff members prioritizes the needs of others and the vision of SLO over their own wants and desires. I remember one time I needed a staff member to fill out a recommendation letter, and I decided to pick Carrie. And when I asked her, she gave me a big hug and thanked me for asking her, and that just made me laugh because I should have been the one asking you. She and her husband Paul are my fill-in parents today since my parents were not able to make it. So thank you guys for coming. I wanted to thank my parents too. They have just been such an inspiration for me of how to have a godly relationship in ministry. And so although they aren't here, I wanted to thank them, and I love them very much. Becca and Pastor Matthias have done an amazing job as work mentors, walking alongside me, yet giving me independence to make the job my own. For example, I was able to start a women's fellowship group called Rooted Women, and Becca has done nothing but encouraged me and helped make it as smooth as possible. Becca, thank you for all that you've done for me, and it's just been so cool to witness your light to others, and I'm just so grateful to have you as one of my work mentors. Pastor Matthias has allowed me to help him plan for our weekly Bible study on campus, and having that time to dive into Scripture together has just been a blessing for me in work, but also in my personal faith life. And I'm very grateful for him and all that he does for every one of us on campus. I'm just grateful for all the people God has placed in my life here at Concordia, including, like I said, the entire SLO staff and Mr. Berggren and all my professors. And I just wanted to thank everyone here for supporting me and our entire cohort. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Brianna Burns. I work in the advancement office, so I have the pleasure and privilege of working with Mr. Scott, Mr. Derek, Miss Deb, Miss Jen, Miss Lee is another one of my work mentors, and so many others. And I would just like to say thank you to all of y'all. Y'all have created an environment where it's safe for me to learn and grow, and all of you have been so reassuring. I'm kind of a perfectionist, so it can be hard to feel like my work was good enough, but y'all have all been so reassuring, and you've really helped give me the confidence that, you know, I'm doing my best and I'm doing it well. So thank y'all so much. I'd also like to say thank you to my parents. My mom is here. She's my biggest supporter, and she's so wise, and she's just someone that I can always go to, so I'm so thankful to you, Mom. I'm also thankful to my dad. He is the hardest working man on this planet, and he cares so much, and so he's really given that to me, and I think that if I didn't have a dad like him, I wouldn't be here in this position as a Paul Scholar, so I'm so thankful to him too. Working in the advancement office, I have the privilege to be able to see the countless names of everyone who supports Concordia and its mission, and thereby supports me. So one thing I've learned as a Paul Scholar is just humility. It's hard to not look at all of those names and just be in awe, especially when I get to do that alongside people that just impress me so much with their experience and their wisdom and their character. I just feel so blessed to be in the position I am, and I'm so excited to see what God has in store. Thank you all.
Good evening. My name is Nathaniel Sizer, and I work in the Institute of Ethical Leadership with Dr. Beck. One of the things that really stands out to me during my time working there was helping with the ice cream social. It really got me out of my comfort zone. I was thrown right into a project, but I really enjoyed that because I got to learn a lot of different things, especially working in the business department. I got to meet with all of the different faculty and staff. I got to establish those connections with them, and also I got immersed into the community of business majors there, and I really just appreciated how welcoming everyone was. One thing I've learned from Dr. Beck is the value of servant leadership, going above and beyond, doing things that you might not used to be doing, whether it be like delivering letters or maybe calling an entire list of people. I just got to learn so much about a bunch of different things that I had no clue I would ever be doing, and I'm really grateful for that. So thank you.
Hello, my name is Malia Schleisner. I work in church work curation and admissions over in Tome and sometimes in Weller. I would say my first semester as a Paul Scholar was a 9 out of 10. I would say 10 out of 10, but Professor Bergen always tells us to leave room for improvement. So when I first came in as a freshman, I am not going to lie, I was terrified. I've heard some people tell me that I looked like I hated the world. I did not. I was just scared. And right away, my work mentors were super involved in my life, and they brought me into the community of the church work curation and admissions with just open arms and enthusiasm for what is going on as a Paul Scholar. And I have just loved working with everybody in that group. I especially want to thank some of my work mentors, Dr. Sankey, who's over at the table there tonight. She's really pushed me to work in my professionalism and communication with the professors and students, and I've learned a lot from her. Mr. Schrantz and Olivia Johnson have been guiding me to create letter of intent packages, which are basically something that church work students will sign saying that they are coming to Concordia and they will be working as a church worker. They've helped me create those packages, send them out to students, and I have learned how to work with different students and a lot of organization, which doesn't come easy for me, but they've been with me every step of the way. So big shout out to them. And Mrs. Brooks, she's been very helpful as well. I always go to her office first thing in the morning and ask about her day, and she'll ask about mine, and she has been a great example for me as what a good office worker should be. So I want to thank her as well. Overall, my time in the church work curation has been one of great gratitude. I just appreciate everything that they've done for me and how much they've just accepted and loved me. So thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Heidi. I work in IT, and I'm proud to say that working in IT, I've mastered a lot of things. Two in particular, restarting things and pretending I know what I'm doing until it works. I'm just kidding, not really. I just want to take a moment to express my gratitude for the opportunity to work in IT. First and foremost, I want to thank my supervisor, Joshua Hendrickson. He has just done such a great job. He's given me so much to learn from, and he's fostered an environment with so much support and guidance. And he's made an environment where learning is not only encouraged, but it's genuinely enjoyable, and that has made a huge difference in my experience. So in IT, I have gotten the opportunity to do so many things like help students and faculty troubleshoot their technical issues, and I've gotten to assist in maintaining and setting up equipment for classrooms and events to make sure that things run smoothly behind the scenes. Throughout this time in my position, I've learned so much, not just about technology, but about communication and customer service. And I've gained confidence in my ability to work independently, and I've learned how to adapt quickly when facing unfamiliar issues, which is basically the day-to-day reality in IT. But most importantly, I have learned how I can be a servant leader in every vocation I work in. So overall, this experience has been incredibly valuable, and I'm truly grateful for the opportunity to contribute to the team and grow both professionally and personally. Thank you.
And that's what I work with, 3 days a week in class and 5 days a week out and about with people. That's just a sample. We have 5 more. But first, we'd like to take a moment and give our work mentors a chance to just say a word or two. And we do have, I guess it's easier if people just come up here to see. But if you have a few sentences, that'd be just fine. Otherwise, to give you an idea of what some people are thinking, I have a couple that are coming to us remote. So Randy Bach was not able to be here, but he has a comment about Kaylee. He says, Kaylee has made tremendous progress over the course of the past year. She continues to learn many new things. I look forward to seeing her step up in new leadership roles to be an example for others to follow. And she just got a promotion to the football training room. She says there's a lot more skill level that you have to achieve before you even get there. You also have to have a certain tolerance of strong odors, but that's just part of the job. And then for Leigh Lewis, who was unable to be here, it says, it is a true pleasure to acknowledge Brianna, a remarkable individual whose character and work ethic consistently stand out. Brianna is a strong Christian woman whose faith is reflected in her integrity, compassion, and commitment to excellence in all that she does. Her bright personality and positive attitude bring energy and encouragement to every environment she's a part of. Brianna is a diligent and focused individual who approaches the responsibilities with a strong sense of purpose and determination. She's not only a hard worker, but also an innovative thinker who sees ways to improve and add value. Her ability to remain grounded while striving for excellence is both admirable and inspiring. In every interaction, Brianna demonstrates kindness, humility, and a genuine care for others, making her a valued team member. She is a true example of grace, resilience, and dedication, and she brings out the best in those around her. It has been such a pleasure working with her this past year. That's a lot of adjectives, and they all fit, don't they? Is there any other mentors who would like to just make a comment, just a sentence or two? Just kind of open mic, don't have to think out loud. Come on up, Joshua.
I'm Josh Hendrickson. I'm the IT work mentor for Heidi. And Heidi mentioned that she's found that it's an enjoyable environment to learn in, which is great because for like the first month and a half, well, probably the first whole semester of her working in IT, she's drinking from a fire hose, learning all of the tiny little things, tiny little details about what processes and how to set things up, how to adjust that one little setting that I always forget that makes everything break. Knowing that, okay, this should be working. I've done it 5 times and it's not okay. Restarting it the 4th time actually fixed it. So it's good to hear that. Or I'm glad that she was able to take. She's done such a wonderful job of adapting to all of the things that she's been taught. And to start with, it wasn't always the most advanced things, of course, but it's been a real blessing to see how I can teach her and layer on top, layer and layer more advanced things, and so I can just hand stuff off to her now. So, for instance, starting with events on campus that need like a microphone or a projector, it seems real simple to just, when you get up here, you plug in your computer and a microphone works, but there's actually a lot of nuance that goes into it. And anymore, now I can just say, hey, Heidi, there's this event happening on campus on Tuesday night and needs to be recorded, and she'll just go and do it. I don't have to do anything because I know that she's got it handled. So to see how she's progressed as, learning tons of new skills and excelling at it, and I can just trust her to do an amazing job. It's been a pleasure to work with Heidi. So.
I'm Kurt Beck. I'm a professor of management and the director of the Institute for Ethical Leadership, and more importantly, this is Charlie. He's always with me. We're grateful for Nathaniel. He's done an amazing job of just jumping in. We host a lot of activities on campus, and he mentioned the ice cream social, so we have about 200 to 250 business students that will show up for that. And again, Nathaniel just was an amazing job of organizing, helping us do things we weren't able to do, some things we dreamed about. Hey, it would be nice if we could, but we're just limited on resources, and so he made a lot of those things happen. He took over our social media for the whole Department of Business and for all these other activities that are going on. And again, we would do a post, and it would, Nathaniel comes in, and we're getting regular postings, and it's a great job of all the things that are going on. And so again, we've given him things where say, hey, we need to have this done this way. He does it. We've also given him things like, we just have to make this happen, and he jumped in and helped us get all this data put together and organized. And so it's just been a real blessing to have Nathaniel in our department. Come on.
I'm Rebecca Freed, and I'm the director in the Student Life Office, and I get to work with Anna. And something that I've been kind of thinking about as I've been sitting here tonight is and maybe other work mentors had this experience too, of you get all excited that you're going to have this student worker, and then you're like, what do I have a freshman do on day 1 when they don't even know how to get to some of the buildings on campus? And so it's been so fun to see not just Anna, but a lot of you figure out some really cool ways to be involved even as a freshman, even in your first semester here. And it was one highlight that kind of shows a little bit of what I know is true for a lot of you, but for Anna was she mentioned the Rooted Women Women's Fellowship on campus. And so launching a brand new ministry on campus in a first year as a freshman. And not only doing that, but we have a guest speaker coming later this month to be a part of that, and just the professionalism with which she interacted. And so we met with that speaker a couple weeks ago, and the speaker was like, "So you must be like a junior or senior, right?" And she's like, "A freshman." And the speaker was just completely blown away. And this is a woman who interacts with people setting up events all across the country. And she was really impressed with Anna and how she was working with her and coordinating this event. So there's that side of it, and also down to Anna's not so willing to just do all of the little things. So any students in the room, if you've gotten a birthday card from Student Life and Campus Ministry, Anna wrote it. She has been writing birthday cards to every single student. Students, some of you got birthday cards maybe? Yeah, so every single student on campus, and that's a kind of, like he was saying, some of these things that we have been wanting to do, and now that we have this Paul Scholar program, we can try and have that personal touch. And I literally have walked past the mailboxes one day when someone opened their mailbox and goes, "Oh, I got a birthday card," and it was just so exciting to see how those little things and the big things, and I know that has to be happening for all of you. So thank you for your work this year.
Good evening. My name is Eardie Jones, and I work at Trinity Academy with our lovely Lauren Gilmore. I would like to read the following message from Dr. Haley to Lauren. He says, "I've been very impressed by Lauren's professionalism, her initiative, and her teamwork with coworkers, and her rapport with the Trinity Academy students. We look forward to having her develop next year into a regular point of contact for Trinity Academy families. We know that with her geniality and thoughtfulness, she will thrive in this role. We are very grateful for Lauren at Trinity Academy." And you couldn't have said it better. I speak for myself and our entire team at Trinity Academy. Lauren always shows up with a smile on her face. She always makes your day better. She always focuses on other people. She's a humble servant. It's been humbling for me and very inspirational for me to see someone that young. And as someone said earlier, to think where she'll be when she's a senior, when she's already an amazing person. Trinity Academy would not be the same without Lauren Gilmore. We're so thankful to have her. Thank you, Lauren.
Good evening. My name is Brian Moore. I'm the theater professor, director of the theater program here at Concordia. I'm in two minds now because we have one act going on right now, so I'm kind of bouncing back and forth. But I wanted to be here on behalf of Isaac Harrington. It's been great to work with him, and I wrote stuff down, so I'll be briefer than I usually am. I just wanted to say that throughout the school year, Isaac shared his talents and passions for graphic design and theater through the various projects that have supported our theater department, from increasing programs, our program social media presence, to creating posters for scenery and advertising, and many other behind-the-scenes things that go on. The theater program is just grateful for Isaac's contributions and collaboration with the students as well as the staff, self-included, and I am personally grateful for his willingness to engage with us and with me to push the program and to push me to be better and to do great things for the university and our community at large. So, thank you, Isaac.
Hello everyone, I'm Lorinda Sankey and I work with Malia. So just a brief couple brief comments about Malia. She comes to work every day with joy, brings this sense of joy into the office when she comes in. Her workspace is in a place where everyone in our building and tome has to walk past her to get their mail. So she knows everyone. She knew who made these things on your table. She said, oh, that's who made that. I talked to him about that, and she knows about this person. So Malia has a great ability to get to know people, and that's really important for us as she works with us with 10 different people in the church work leadership here on campus. So thanks, Malia, for everything you're doing, and our challenge is to hand off more work to you. So be ready for next year.
Hi, I'm Scott Sievers, and I serve in the advancement office, and Brianna is our Paul Scholar that works with us. It is very difficult for most teenagers today, most 18-year-olds, to interact with adults. Brianna interacts with adults through outreach and engagement with churches and alumni and friends of the university, and does it well. Brianna thanks donors to Concordia every day who make gifts, and she is our primary thank you caller. She does it well. There's one thing that most teenagers would consider worse than cleaning toilets. That's calling adults and asking them for money. Brianna also does that. So we're thankful for that, and thankful for the fact that she not only serves us well, but she has made our office and our team better.
Fabulous, and no surprise. And something that I've said to people before is that as parents, you have to love your kids. Grandparents, you have to love your kids. That's just how it is. But when other people who didn't raise your kids, who don't have to enjoy your kids, make those kind of comments, oh yeah, moms and dads, you've done a great job. Thank you. Thank you for that contribution. And now our mentors are adding to that story. They're now part of what's made them even more lovable, more valuable. So at this point, I'd like to turn it over to our next batting order of students. So Isaac is going to take off the next group.
Hello, my name's Isaac Harrington. I'm a graphic design major, and I've been blessed to be able to serve in the theater department under Brian Moore's mentorship and leadership. I've been very thankful for how he's handled me coming on into this position as a Paul Scholar. One of the first things he asked me was what I knew about theater and what in theater I was passionate about. And so I've gotten the opportunity to work in all the different aspects of theater, including set design, costumes, props, inventory, and social media management. Back in the fall, after our first main stage, both me and Brian were disappointed in the numbers that we had in our audience for Alice in Wonderland. And so after that, we had a conversation about why we thought that was. And one solution we came up with was improving our social media presence. And so he has trusted me to take the reins on how to do it, what to do, and I've been blessed to be trusted with that. I'm also very thankful that in how he has let me work and what he's let me work on in the theater department, of how that's blended in with my major here at Concordia in graphic design, that I keep getting to use all the skills that I've been learning in class that we talk about how to use in the future immediately in my position here at the theater department, and so I'm very thankful for that. I'm also very thankful to you, Mr. Bergen. You have worked tirelessly and very hard, even though I know this last year has been very difficult for you. So thank you very much for what you've done for us.
Hello everyone, my name is Lauren Gilmore and I work at Trinity Academy, the high school on campus here. I would like to begin by thanking my work mentor, Dr. Gabriel Haley, as well as my coworkers Andrew Block and Irdi. Thank you so much for your kind words. You've always been such a welcoming presence to me and made this experience very enjoyable. And especially my coworkers and my work mentor throughout this year, they have provided me with such good examples of rapport and communication and ways I can look to them for improvement and see where I can grow as an individual and as an asset to Trinity Academy. While these may have been areas where I've been told they are my strengths beforehand, this experience has solidified those immensely, and it is my joy to be able to come here today and say that to you. One of my projects throughout this year have been scheduling Scholars lunches, where we invite guests to share what is good, true, and beautiful with our students to help shape their worldview. And being able to enhance my communication rapport has definitely helped me connect with these individuals and be able to provide informative experiences that I know our students specifically will enjoy. For instance, just a few weeks ago, we had an organ crawl over at St. John's, and I knew that would definitely match with what our students' interests lie. And so that has been a joy for me to be able to bring those experiences to them. Finally, I would like to say that going forward, I want to continue to grow in my communication rapport, and I know I have great mentors that I can look to for this. And just overall, this Paul Scholar program has been such a gift that I have been able to look at these skills and all the other skills that you saw present at the beginning today. Thank you, Paul Berggren, and everyone here for the support you have given to this program. Have a good evening. Thank you.
Hello everybody, my name is Kaylee Schoen and I work in the athletic training department for Paul Scholars. All throughout the 2 semesters, I have learned and grown more than I would honestly like to admit some days. Sure, there have been the obvious skills, such as taping wrists, ankles, thumbs, fingers, you name it, really anything on the body, that I've learned from Randy Bach, my work mentor, who unfortunately wasn't able to make it today, but they have come in very handy when, like, 5 soccer players come in 2 minutes after practice was supposed to start, or when a football player decides to dislocate his thumb in the middle of practice, or a lot of other things I could come up with, but I digress. However, he has taught me so much more than just the ins and outs of helping in the training room and on the football field. He has also taught me all about how to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best, how to stay calm and flexible no matter what happens, and how to pay attention to the details, because it's always the little things that matter in life. And come to think of it, that's actually pretty good advice for life. Which leads me to my next point of thanking my parents. They have always been there for me, and no matter what happens in life. They have been there to offer a humorous perspective to my less humorous perspective, talk me out of my stupid ideas, and support me in my less stupid ideas, guide me in the Christian faith, and love me no matter what. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them today, so I thank them so much. And I would like to round this off by thanking everybody who helped make this Paul Scholars possible, because it has been absolutely life-changing, not only for the next 4 years in college, but for life. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Hannah Fedorowitz, and my Paul Scholars work placement is with the music department under Professor Robert Cody. I think the biggest lesson I've learned this year is that to lead is to serve. Every task has value, no matter how insignificant it may seem. I spend a lot of time doing what might be considered background tasks, such as taking out the recycling, cleaning whiteboards, or organizing storage rooms. But each of these tasks is necessary and benefits every person who uses the music building. If the whiteboards aren't clean, they can't be used properly in instruction. The same is true of storage rooms. If you don't know where to find something, you can't use it. Professor Robert Cody has given me the chance to see how each aspect of the department works and how each part works together as a whole. I've been given the opportunity to work on different aspects of major events, such as registration for honor band and planning for tours. And throughout every part of my work, my mentor has supported me and pushed me to do more than I thought I could accomplish. One of my favorite things about working in this department is constantly being surrounded by music. At any given point in the day, you can hear students practicing their instruments or singing as they walk to their next class. It brings me a lot of joy to be part of that. I'm grateful for this experience and can't wait to see what next year brings. I'm also very grateful for Mr. Bergren and my fellow Paul Scholars for supporting me throughout this experience. Thank you.
Last one. So I'm Rachel, and I work in security. And I was very apprehensive about this job going into this year, as I was asked the question by many people what I wanted to do with my life, and I had no idea. I knew I enjoyed criminal justice, but I also have two parents who are DCEs and have been trying to convert me to be a DCE. So I stepped into this role not having any direction, but having work ethic, and my my mentors were able to take that and roll with it. At the beginning of this, like Paul said earlier, I'm the only student who's ever worked in security, so it was very much a starting from the very beginning. My bosses knew only a little more than I knew, so we were both kind of looking at each other like deer in headlights. But I believe we've done a lot with it just in the last year. With it being so new, this has also challenged me to just take leadership and be confident in myself, as there were many shifts where I didn't quite know what to do with myself, but I was like, okay, what can I do best to serve this department? And then I'd roll with it, and most of the time it worked out well. With that, I would like to thank Dana Metzger and Chris Grooms, my two work mentors. Dana, you've done a good job with challenging me and also letting me be a blank slate for you to work with, as most of the times he'd ask me a question and I wouldn't know the answer, but he'd be willing to teach me how to use it. And then Chris, even though I've known you just a couple weeks, I want to thank you for always pausing your work to teach me something. He knows that I don't really know what I want to do with my life, but he's willing to teach me things that he knows from his experience, as he has a lot of experience. So it's been nice. I've gotten advice on several things, as the criminal justice world is a wide, broad area. So I just want to thank you guys. And then I want to thank my parents for loving me at a distance. I live 5 hours away, and that has been the hardest part of this year for me. But my parents know that staying in Wichita would be better for me and letting me grow here as an individual. So I just want to thank my family, as they've done a good job of challenging and encouraging me, but also making sure that I'm my own human being, my own individual. And then lastly, I just want to say thank you for just leading me, this whole Paul Scholars, as well as my mentors, just leading me as an individual. You guys have seen a lot of ups and downs, but I have appreciated just being led spiritually as well as work-wise. Those two go hand in hand more than I would ever think so. So I just appreciate the guidance that I've had in the last year. Thank you.
But by the grace of God, I am what I am. And his grace toward me is not in vain. On the contrary, I worked harder than any of them, though not I, but the grace of God that is with me. That's our campus verse for this year. And I think it has become the verse for this cohort. What you're hearing is evidence of that. It's hard work, it's faithful service, and it's by the grace of God. By the grace of God. So do you see why I like Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays so much? Do you see why I enjoy those meetings with the work mentors and the mentees? I'm actually kind of part of their conversation. I step in once in a while, but seeing them pause and talk about things that they might not normally do because I'm there asking these questions. And the biggest thing I keep hearing is, almost to the word, with every one of these work mentors, they look at these scholars one at a time and they say, you were the right person to be this first scholar in this job at this time. I'm so glad it was you. And so am I. It's been such a wonderful evening. Thank you so very kindly. Thank you for administration. Thank you for our faculty and staff. Thank you for parents, our mentors, our builders, our donors, and to you scholars. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening. Be well.